Hey, good Friday morning, September 5th here, just a little after 6 a.m. Eastern Time. Michael Clark with BAM Weather and your latest outlook here on the next several weeks, kind of the thought process on, where the pattern is going, how warm it's going to get again, potentially, and how dry it is. We've got some expanding drought signals as well. Let's get into a couple things. First thing I want to show you is just how cool it's been. This is temperatures really the last 10 days. The higher the number, the colder it's been. So we track data back to 1893, which is 133 years. As you can see, a large majority of the eastern U.S. is basically tracking for the second to third coldest stretch of weather in 133 years. So to give you any indication of what this pattern is like in terms of from normal, it's record territory for cool weather. We've continued to see record low temperatures, and we're again continued to be worried about the potential for temperatures to get pretty cold this weekend with the front. We'll go to synoptic weather here and take a look at the cold front for the weekend and what it could mean for overnight low temperatures. All right, so let's take a look here. Again, this is Friday morning. I want to take you in through Saturday morning and look at these low temperature projections here into the upper 30s across northern Illinois, into portions of Iowa, Minnesota. Again, at least concerns, look at this right here, for the potential, that's below freezing temperature right there, of frost, hard frost. All right. Again, Saturday morning, across a large portion of where a lot of crop is. There's no question, especially right in through here, that to see temperature projections this low, even upper 30s across northern Illinois being shown. That's Saturday morning. And then as you go out even again to Sunday morning, you continue to see even a colder forecast suggestion here. Anywhere you see these blues, it's indications of locally outlying areas getting to temperatures that are near freezing by Sunday morning. Mid to low 30s being possible across southern Minnesota, Iowa, Illinois, Michigan. There is certainly the potential here for a hard frost Sunday morning across a large section of the primary growing regions of the U.S. Again, this is a big deal. All right. So, and this is very early. It's September 5th. This is not normal. So something we're going to want to continue to really keep our eyes on here. Elsewhere across the country, it's raining pretty good across Kansas this morning, down into Oklahoma and the desert Southwest. There's some thunderstorms, cluster of thunderstorms there in the northern Great Lakes. Rainfall as it pertains to over the last several days, we've really struggled. 7-day rain. Actually, let's go to 3-day because we had our first rain across the Midwest that we've seen here in quite some time come through Illinois, Indiana, into Ohio, but it really wasn't a whole lot. Quarter. Some folks got a half an inch of rain, better rain coverage there across Kentucky, Tennessee, down to the south, but a lot of the primary soybean growing regions here needing rainfall and just really haven't gotten it. And that kind of plays into the latest drought monitor update. This is the 4-week drought monitor class change. You can see significant expansion in the drought. Most of the state of Indiana in abnormally dry conditions now. So in the first stages of a drought developing, the Arklatex regions down here across Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri, Arkansas has gotten very dry. The actual status of the drought monitor now, D1, D2 level droughts across Arkansas and portions of Tennessee, and especially in New England and Northeast. But look at the expansion here into Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. So some late season stress on crops, no doubt about it. They're needing the rain, and unfortunately, there's just not a lot of rain in the forecast over the next 2 weeks, if any, for a lot of folks. In terms of the dryness, over the last 20 days, some places are rivaling some of the driest stretches we've seen. It's certainly a top third, top 25% driest stretches we've seen from August into September. All right, so let's kind of take a look at this pattern because this kind of heat is coming back, especially for the eastern grain belt by mid-September, and that's gonna be a big deal. That's gonna put the end to things. You're looking at frost in the Midwest and heat in the East. and you're basically going to put an end to the life cycle of the crop pretty much. But let's take a look at the pattern and what that might look like. What is it suggesting? Currently, where you are, there's a big trough, right? This is a big area of low pressure. Cooler temperatures are the picture. Trough moving east. It's a beautiful weekend. It's very fall-like. The trough exits, and we start to see this blocking pattern develop, or this ridge develop, if you will, here across the south central U.S. This is a textbook response to the cooling waters in the Pacific Ocean and the positive Southern Oscillation Index. This is what's going on essentially in the Pacific Ocean. The writing would be on the wall for this to happen here in the central U.S., which is for the heat to return. Okay, and you can see this ridge expanding central eastern U.S. It will bring back significant heat, especially for late September, mid to late September standards. In fact, 15 degrees above normal, possibly. So we're not done with the heat, and we're certainly not looking at a lot in the way of rain because of the way this ridge would materialize. It actually would cut off moisture from the Pacific, put moisture up and around the periphery of the ridge into the central plains, but not into the eastern grain belt. And that would be the concern here. As you can see, that the precipitation forecast out through 10 days, there just isn't any. As that ridge migrates east, even out through 15 days, you can see what it does with the precip is around the periphery of the primary location of the ridge, it'll flow up and around, and you'll put precipitation into the central plains, but you won't get it here into the eastern grain belt, into the mid-Atlantic either. You're going to have a hard time getting rain to materialize in that particular region. And the other thing to look at here is just the sheer heat being forecast. It's impressive for September standards, especially across the central and southern U.S. Mid to upper 90s. I mean, that's impressive. This is out to the 13th. Here's the 14th of September. Okay, that's upper 90s, western Kentucky, western Tennessee, southern Illinois, Indiana. Look at this, even hotter further east, September 15th. Here's the 16th, the 17th, the 18th. It's a multi-day heat wave coming mid-month here. So something to keep in mind. We look at other indications to kind of solidify that forecast suggestion, and it's the rapid rise in the Southern Oscillation Index. In fact, it's roughly about a 25-point rise here over the last 3 to 4 days, and we look at that, and this is the positive SOI correlation, and you can see it's kind of what I just showed you. That ridge developing in the central U.S. It will migrate east a little bit, but it's a warmer pattern, and it's a much less active one, if you will. Looking at precipitation in the week 3 and 4 time frame, again, there's not a lot. There's not an overwhelming signal of rainfall. In fact, there's a signal of the lack thereof, even out through the end of September. So this is the 19th out through the 2nd of October, continuing to indicate the dry pattern. The temperature forecast continues, if anything, to indicate warmer than average conditions, with the potential that a bigger front may exist end of September into early October. At this rate, at least after this weekend, not too many folks are going to be feeling all like fall, if you will, all right, in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So warmer and drier is really the takeaway here, with no major fronts in the picture. But I wanted to shift gears real quick and kind of talk to you about what I'm seeing in the potential for winter, November, December, January, February, and what some of the indications are talking about right now, or what they're at least pointing to. And the Climate Prediction Center has us in what we call a La Niña watch. You can check their ENSO reports. There's basically a 56% chance of development for a La Niña. We look at the weather models, and we have 2 of them, the UK Met and the German's weather model, along with the Meteo France. Here into October, November, December, a weak La Niña suggestion. Anything where this dashed line is, the lines going below that would be a suggestion for a weak La Niña. And so we can look at that. we can look at some things as to why that's happening. The first thing I want to show you is this is the change in the last 4 weeks. All right, this is basically that's the average. Here's during the last 4 weeks. I want to show you the change. Sorry, here we go. Here's the change in the last 4 weeks. You can see the rapid cooling going on in the central equatorial Pacific Ocean, the eastern Pacific primarily, and even up into the Atlantic. That's where Aaron went through. Seeing the cooling going on. And then the other interesting part about this is the subsurface anomalies, the cold waters, the lack of warm water anywhere across the central Pacific Ocean leads me to believe we have the potential for a weak La Nina to develop, to slip into that. Looking at Decembers where that happens, where we have weak La Nina suggestions, strong indications of a big trough, a big cold source of region of air, if you will, and a stormy December may be the idea here. Years like 2000, 2005, 2013 are some of the more recent analogs where the pattern is very similar. And these are abrupt, cold, rough starts to winter. So certainly at least having that potential right now. And you look at these analogs, our leading analogs for the winter as a whole, December, January, February, I'll tell you, indications are for the potential for a longer duration of cold and more of a classic, harsher winter across much of the United States, based on some of the early indications and the potential that we're slipping into this weaker La Nina. The idea with that, too, would probably be a very active storm track here across the Midwest, Great Lakes, and the interior Northeast, where you see the colors changing from drier to wetter, the blues to the yellows. That's pretty much a battle zone of where the heaviest precipitation can set up. So with cold being available, it's possible that winter is cold and stormy. We'll keep you posted. Hey, real quick to sum this up too, we're watching the potential for tropical storm hurricane development across the main development regions there, the southern Atlantic. By day 10, it's possible it's approaching somewhere into Cuba, down and through like Haiti, somewhere down in here. You can see where the potential of something may be on the horizon by day 10. We need to monitor it. Nonetheless, some of these isolated members try to take this into the Gulf. So we do need to keep an eye on that. But that's the latest long-range thought process for now. Thanks for checking it out here this morning. Have a great weekend. Share it with a friend.